Well, the one thing I had going for me back in the day, considering the fact that I was totally asleep and unconscious, and I do mean totally and completely, I didn't know any of what I know today. And so I was this is something that I learned out of an absolute necessity. The one thing I did have going for me was a burning desire, the absolute intention. I was willing to do whatever it took to be the very best that I could be. I mean, if you're a professional bowler, you don't get anything handed to you. You got to go out there and earn it, or life gets real tough real quick. And so I had that burning desire. And, I was, again, asleep and unconscious and naive enough to figure, well, gee, doesn't everybody have it? I mean, if I've got it, doesn't that mean everybody has it? And the answer is absolutely no. Most people do not have a clue what 100% intention is all about. That's the one thing I had, and it's the one thing that saw me through. Now, I painted myself into a corner by not only hurting my back a little bit. It was in a tournament. The approaches were sticky, but I had a good shot going, and I wasn't going to withdraw. I just kept on going, and the problem is that I kept hurting my back worse and worse and worse. And like a dummy, I thought I could play through it. Well, what I had to do was withdraw from all the remaining tournaments on the schedule because I could barely walk, let alone throw a bowling ball. Are you kidding me? and I painted myself into a corner with no way out. What I mean by that is that I originally discovered chiropractors and they helped, but they quickly became the law of diminishing returns, where they might be able to reset me, but less than 5 minutes later, I was back there, a living pretzel again, and in agonizing pain that I don't even want to think about it. So I wasn't functioning very well. Let's put it that way. I wasn't even going to let a doctor look at my back because I had heard too many horror stories about those who had done so, had the surgery that they had wished they had never had, and been paying the price for it ever since. It left only one option, and that was to learn how to heal myself. And when you're starting from square one, not having one single clue where to start from, let me tell you, it was a long and winding road, and it took many, many years. And thankfully, I did have the entrance requirement, and that's that total burning desire. I wasn't going to stop. I wasn't going to quit. I was going to keep going until I found a way. Well, ultimately, it led me to breathwork. But in the early days, what they called breathwork, I wouldn't want to teach to anybody because you talk, when I say don't go beyond 20 breaths initially because it's real easy to activate but not so easy to integrate, that's about all I learned in the early days of breathwork was how to integrate and how to activate, but nobody taught me anything about how to integrate, and so I felt like a scrambled egg for hours, if not days afterwards. It did not feel good. After 7 or 8 years of banging my head against the wall, and the reason I did was because I realized that there was something here. If I could get beyond not knowing how to do it and get down to the bottom line and learn how to do it, which meant finding a teacher who really could teach me, which ultimately I did. And it began to make all the difference in the world. We give all the credit in the world to a guy by the name of Jim Leonard and his wife at the time, Jill Leonard. As I say, after banging my head against the wall for 7 or 8 years, they were friends of mine at the time. But, I never really thought seriously about working with them, even though I had heard that they had a much more useful, a much more advanced way of working with this and teaching it. So I finally surrendered and went to work with these guys. And as I said, I give Jim Leonard all the credit in the world because that's where within me the transformation and learning how to do this properly, it really began, and it just continued to build and to grow from there, fueled by my burning desire. What I'm happy to say is, to make a very long story short, I've healed my back to the point where it's like it never ever happened. Now, what I mean by it like it never ever happened, when you're incomplete with something, it's, in my experience, it's running your life. It's what your entire life was about. When it takes you 45 minutes to get out of bed, to figure out a way to even be able to move enough to get out of bed, that's on a good day. You can imagine what a bad day was like. When moved from that to healing it like it's never ever happened, I'm totally complete with it. It's just like it never ever happened. It's about all I can say about it. But it was, like I say, a very long and winding road. Well, I can show people in 12 weeks what it took me from 1976 to 1991 to even get my first healing. And that first healing was not a complete healing, it was only a partial healing. But it was a very important breakthrough. It took about 10 years more than that to learn how to, integrate and develop enough to completely heal myself. Gee, I didn't know anything about stuck energy or unresolved emotional trauma or anything like that. I thought that I just had tight muscles and that's just the way life was. And I thought that being in a constant state of stress, well, gee, isn't everybody? To me, that was just normal. That was just natural. That was just the norm. Yeah, I experienced moments of creativity and joyfulness and all that, but they weren't lasting. And when push came to shove, when I needed to perform in a pressure situation, I found that the biggest difference between me and the top pros was that they were able to come through and perform on a much more consistent basis than I was. And so I was committed to narrowing that gap. And doing so cost me this back injury, which at the time was the worst thing that ever happened to me, which is now clear is the best thing that ever happened to me, because I never otherwise would have gotten off the dime and learned how to heal myself. So yeah, it was all stuck energy. And learning how to integrate that stuck energy not only healed my back, but it completely transformed my life in all the other areas too. And it can do the same thing for anybody, because we all have that ability contained within us. All I am is a coach, is a guide. All I do is show you that you've got it contained within you. I show you that it's there, and then I show you how to use it, and ultimately how to master it. And anybody can do it, because we all have it contained within us. So, that's how I got my start. Thank you very much, bowling, and thank you for injuring my back.